the jail and all those expansions, they still run off the 1995 infrastructure. So that's become kind of a problem. I started in the jail over 2 decades ago. The kitchen is the same size. The laundry is a little bit bigger. The booking area, the sally port, those are all the same sizes. With the population growth here, we're projecting that if we don't do something immediately, then we'll be in a worse situation than we are now, which is we run every day over operational capacity. So that's really the need. It's twofold. We are adding beds, but we're also adding infrastructure. It's important to note that adding beds doesn't mean we want to fill beds. That is not what we want to do. We want to continue to be innovative with our alternative sentencing and our pretrial release program so we can still keep the population down. But adding beds to the facility allows us to move people around the jail and upfit and kind of make repairs in parts of that 1995 infrastructure that we still function on today. The commissioners have done their due diligence in that over the last handful of years, they have been putting money away for a construction fund for the jail. Okay. So even though the project is a $69 million project, we're only bonding for $49 million because they've taken some savings and found some ways to allocate other money so that we could keep the bond amount down. So one of the things that we did early on with this project was we sent out a survey to the public, which worked really well because we got a couple thousand responses back, and it really taught us what the public doesn't know on all spectrums. We have everything from don't put any more people in jail ever to they should be having bread and water and sleeping on the floor, and none of which are going to be appropriate for our community. We decided we would launch this information project to try and help people understand what we really do here at the jail, because the general public doesn't know, and kind of why should they, right? One of the biggest things that we heard in opposition was, you're putting too many people in jail. Stop arresting the marijuana possession, those lower level misdemeanor crimes, and housing them in our jail. Well, those people don't exist in our jail. We've had these innovative programs for the last 15 years that have identified people that we can supervise outside the walls of the jail while we make room for the more felonious population, which is now our population. 88% of our population in the jail, typically 88%, they're in there for felonies. So people don't really understand the dynamic of what the population is. It's become much more hardened from when I started decades ago. That it was just a different population because haven't grown the jail as fast as we should have, but the population has exploded. But we've been very innovative with these programs that keep people out. So now we're kind of at that point of, okay, now we do need an expansion. People also don't realize how many people we keep out of our jail. So yesterday's population when I came to work was exactly 1,000 people, which is well above our operating capacity. But the amount of people that we supervised in our community transition center, our misdemeanor probation, our pretrial release, and our alternative sentencing was over 2,000 people. So we supervise twice as many people outside the walls as we do inside the walls. So I think the most pressing issue to realize for the overcrowding is there's a humanity side to supervising people in the jail. When they come into our facility, we're responsible for all of their well-being, their medical, their food, their clothing, and their safety. And when you have folks that are sleeping on the floor and they are living in a confined area with too many people in it, we see a higher increase in inmate violence and inmate on staff violence. And we really need to be paying attention to everything that's happening in the jail. And when we are focusing so much on trying to make sure that there is not violence in our jail, it takes away from a lot of other places in the jail, and I think it puts our facility at risk. So there are two different kinds of capacity. There's operational capacity and there's rated capacity. Now, rated capacity means this is how many physical bodies you can just shove into every bed in the jail. So you have operational capacity. So how can you run the jail the most efficiently and the safest? And that number is 949. But we've been up over 1,000 most days this year, which means there are people on boats. We call them boats just because they kind of look like canoes that the inmates will sleep on, but they're a hard plastic cot that is, probably 6 inches off the ground. So if you look at our maximum security area on the dashboard, it shows, oh, well, there are open beds in this part of the jail. Why don't they put people in there? Well, those are all 2-person cells, and it is not always beneficial for people to be in a 2-person cell with 2 people. So we can't take someone that's eligible to go to a dormitory setting where there are a lot more freedoms and you have a lot more privileges and say, you know what, I'm sorry, there's not any room for you in here, so you're gonna go live with the murderer in the 2-person cell. So most of the time those people are in a cell by themselves because they can't live with other people because they're violent or they just can't get along. So that's how people get to be on boats in the dorms, because it's a privilege to live in there, and though they have to sleep on the boats, it's still a privilege to be in. They still get different things that other places in the jail don't get, and we want them to work their way up to, because they behave a lot better. We really think that if we put this project in place, it should take us to 2040, and then by that time we might be able to figure out some other ways to use our property here or use the existing facility.
Okay.
So.